Here are 10 fun facts about grapes you can listen to in English. Now, let's get started. The Vineyards Sentinels. Have you ever noticed rose bushes planted at the end of vineyard rows and assumed they were just for decoration? While they certainly add to the scenery, their primary role is far more practical. For centuries, roses have served as a vital early warning system for grape growers. This is because roses are more susceptible to certain fungal diseases, like powdery mildew and downy mildew, than the grapevines themselves. When these diseases are present, they typically appear on the rose leaves first, acting as a sentinel that alerts the vineyard manager to the threat before it can devastate the more valuable grape crop. The principle behind this is straightforward. The conditions that allow mildew to grow on roses are also ideal for it to attack the vines. By carefully monitoring the roses, growers can apply treatments proactively, which can reduce the need for widespread chemical use. While some historians note that the rose's thorns also served to deter horses from damaging the end posts while plowing, the main function was always disease detection. Although modern soil monitoring has made this method less essential, the tradition continues in many vineyards as a tribute to history and a symbol of sustainable agriculture.
Chernobyl's atomic fingerprint. How can experts be sure that a bottle of wine claiming to be from the 18th century is authentic? One of the most definitive modern tests involves looking for a substance that simply shouldn't be there, a radioactive isotope called cesium-137. This substance did not exist in nature before the mid-20th century. It was first introduced into the atmosphere by nuclear weapons testing that began in 1945. Grapes, like other plants, absorb trace amounts of this isotope from the soil, creating a permanent atomic fingerprint in any wine made since that time. The complete absence of cesium-137 is therefore clear proof that a wine was bottled before the atomic age. The amount of cesium-137 in the environment saw another dramatic spike following the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear disaster, which spread a radioactive cloud primarily across Europe. This event provides an even more specific time marker for authenticators. Physicists can measure the concentration of cesium-137 in a bottle of wine without opening it. If a wine supposedly from 1980 contains the high levels of radiation characteristic of the post-Chernobyl period, it is immediately exposed as a fraud. Thus, an environmental catastrophe has been repurposed by scientists into an invaluable tool for verifying the age of vintage wines. The million-yen grapes. Have you ever heard of a bunch of grapes selling for over 1 million yen? In Japan, the ruby Roman grape, developed in Ishikawa Prefecture, holds the Guinness World Record for being the most expensive grapes. At the first auction of the season, a single bunch has fetched prices as high as 1.5 million yen. This is because only grapes that clear exceptionally strict quality standards can be sold under the ruby Roman name. Each grape must weigh at least 20 grams, have a sugar content of 18 degrees or more, and possess a specific vivid red color. However, the high auction price is not the everyday retail price. It's largely a promotional event. The grape's true value comes from their extreme rarity and role as a luxury gift. To maintain their brand image, any bunch of grapes must be nearly perfect in appearance. In reality, less than 10% of the harvested grapes meet all the necessary criteria. This scarcity, combined with the 14 years of research it took to develop the variety, is what justifies their high, though not typically million-yen price in specialty fruit stores. The Devil's Wine. Did you know that champagne, the famous sparkling wine synonymous with celebration, was once feared as the devil's wine? In the early days of its production in the Champagne region of France, The fermentation process would often stop during the cold winter months. When temperatures rose in the spring, the dormant yeast would reawaken inside the sealed bottles, creating a secondary fermentation. This produced carbon dioxide gas, and because the glass bottles of the time were weak, the pressure buildup would cause them to suddenly explode. This led to winemakers losing large parts of their stock and even suffering injuries. Even the famous Dom Perignon initially worked to eliminate these dangerous bubbles. This negative perception began to change, however, thanks to the English. In the 17th century, sparkling wine became highly fashionable in England. The English had stronger, coal-fired glass bottles and would even intentionally induce secondary fermentation by adding sugar. The soaring demand from England made French producers realize that the bubbles were not a fault, but a desirable feature. This shift in perspective prompted them to develop methods to control the carbonation and market the sparkling quality as a unique asset, transforming the once feared beverage into the luxury product we know today. Farming by the moon. Have you ever heard of farming based on the positions of the stars and moon? This is the core idea behind biodynamic farming, a method that is gaining attention among some high-end wine producers. Developed in the early 20th century by the philosopher Rudolf Steiner, biodynamic farming treats a farm as a single, self-sustaining organism. It goes beyond typical organic methods by timing all activities, such as planting and harvesting, according to a celestial calendar. This calendar tracks the movements of the moon, planets, and constellations, which practitioners believe directly influence the growth and quality of the grapes. However, the practices of biodynamic farming are often a subject of debate. A key element is the use of special soil preparations. For example, one involves stuffing crystal powder into a cow horn and burying it in the ground over winter. Many scientists are skeptical of such methods, suggesting that the success of biodynamic farms is likely due to their strong emphasis on organic principles like enhancing soil health and biodiversity, rather than these mystical practices. Proponents, on the other hand, insist that these unique preparations are essential for strengthening the life force of the vineyard.
An ironic legacy. Did you know that the technology behind strong alcoholic drinks like brandy was perfected by a scientist from a culture that prohibits alcohol? Jabir ibn Hayyan, an 8th century Islamic scholar, is credited with significantly advancing the technique of distillation. He improved a device called the alembic still, which allowed for the effective separation of liquids based on their different boiling points. His purpose, however, was not to create alcoholic beverages, which are forbidden in Islam. Instead, he used this method to isolate essential oils for perfumes and to purify chemicals for his alchemical experiments. Despite Jabir's non-alcoholic intentions, his distillation technology eventually spread from the Islamic world to Europe during the Middle Ages. European monks and alchemists, who were not bound by the same religious prohibitions, quickly recognized its potential for other uses. They adopted the alembic still and applied the process to wine, which effectively concentrated its alcohol content. This led to the creation of high-proof spirits like brandy. This historical outcome is a great irony. A technique refined for scientific and aromatic purposes became the foundation for the hard liquor industry in Europe.
Lunar Vineyards. Can you imagine vineyards that look like they belong on the moon? On Lanzarote, one of Spain's Canary Islands, this is a reality. The island is a barren volcanic landscape with very little rainfall and constant strong winds, making agriculture seem impossible. To survive, local farmers developed a unique cultivation method. They dig large pits, or craters, into the black volcanic gravel that covers the ground and plant a single grapevine at the bottom. These craters protect the vines from the wind, allowing them to grow where they otherwise couldn't. This ingenious technique was developed after a series of volcanic eruptions in the 18th century. The farmers discovered that the porous volcanic gravel, known as picon, has a remarkable property. During the night, it absorbs moisture from the air. Then, during the hot day, this layer of gravel acts as a mulch, preventing the stored water from evaporating from the soil below. This allows the grapes to be grown without any need for irrigation, creating a truly surreal and sustainable agricultural system. The King's Secret Mother. What if the king of red wines was actually born from a white grape? As surprising as it sounds, this is the truth for Cabernet Sauvignon. For centuries, the origin of this world-famous red grape was a complete mystery, leading to speculation that it dated back to ancient Roman times. However, it is now known that its mother is actually Sauvignon Blanc, a well-known white grape. This discovery was shocking because it overturned long-held beliefs about the grape's pure red wine lineage. The truth was uncovered in 1997 by researchers at the University of California, Davis. Using DNA analysis, they proved that Cabernet Sauvignon was the result of a natural cross-pollination that occurred sometime in the 17th century between a red grape, Cabernet Franc, and the white grape Sauvignon Blanc. This revelation was a landmark event, not just for solving a long-standing puzzle, but also for introducing a new, scientific approach to understanding the history of wine varieties. The King of Grapes Paradox. Have you ever wondered why Kyoho, the king of grapes in Japan, is so widely available? The story of its creator is a surprising paradox, as the man who developed this famous fruit received almost no financial reward for his work. Yasushi Oinoe, the creator of the Kyoho grape, was a passionate pomologist who held a strong belief that excellent cultivars should be a common asset for society, not a source of personal profit. Driven by this philosophy, he deliberately chose not to register Kyoho as a new variety to protect his rights. Instead, he openly shared his cultivation techniques with growers across Japan. Oinoe's selfless decision had a profound impact. Without the restrictions of a patent or trademark, the Kyoho name became generic, allowing anyone to grow and sell the grape. This freedom was the primary engine for its rapid and widespread adoption, making it a household name. Ironically, while the nation enjoyed the fruits of his labor, Oinoe's own research institute faced severe financial difficulties. His story is a stark reminder that an immense contribution to society does not always translate to personal wealth. Grapes without soil. Could the world's finest wines one day come from a factory instead of a vineyard? A new cultivation method being researched in Japan is challenging the very foundation of winemaking. For centuries, the concept of terroir has been central to winemaking. This is the idea that a region's unique soil and climate impart a distinctive character to its grapes. Many believe that great wine is born from the land itself. However, hydroponics, a technique for growing plants in a nutrient-rich water solution without any soil, is turning this long-held belief on its head. This method allows for precise control over the growing environment, eliminating risks from weather and soil-borne diseases. This technology suggests that the importance of terroir might be overstated. Proponents of hydroponic viticulture argue that it is possible to create grapes with desired characteristics by meticulously managing the nutrients they receive. This could potentially allow for the design of wines with specific flavors, regardless of geographical location. While traditionalists worry this approach disregards the historical aspects of winemaking, this soil-free method could revolutionize the industry, challenging our understanding of what makes a great wine by making premium grape cultivation possible even in regions with unsuitable land.